All right.
There we go.
And welcome everyone to the 10K Rum Podcast. My name is, of course, Amos Joseph, joined by my co-host. Hold on. What is this doing? Okay. Joined by my co-host, Brook Potter, who is, of course, in the UK. How's it going, Brook?
I want to wish all of our friends, listeners, and nerds of all types and stripes happy May the 4th. And of course, all of the Star Wars references, May the 4th be with you, are welcome at some point in the comments. But I know the barrage has been coming in, happens every year. I'm kind of sick of it. But yes, I figured we should at least acknowledge it at least once. I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, we got to give the Catholic response. May the force be with you and also with you.
And also with you, right? That would be our Religion Zero counterparts.
Yeah.
I'm doing all right. I'm actually kind of freezing my ass off a little bit out here. We are having a very cold spring. I don't know if I told you, but we had a little bit of hail not that long ago. I went out to one of the pubs that had recently opened back up. We could do outdoor pubs. You can't get indoors, although I think that might have changed today. And it literally went from snow in the morning, went out to the pub, and it was sunny midday, and it went back to like a hailstorm in the evening. And this is, coming into May, which is pretty fucking ridiculous.
Right.
And on a little bit of a lighter note, I finally got back into the gym, Amos. Finally. Robert Frank be praised. Yes, indeed. I have actually gone twice since they've opened on Monday. I did weights, I hit the iron on Monday. And today I went again, simply because I've been so out of shape, just going up and down the one set of stairs that I have here to collect the mail. I've come up those stairs pretty much pathetically panting. So time to up the trend and time to up the cardio. How are you doing, Amos? How are things in Minnesota?
Nothing much is really going on here.
That's for fuck's sure.
Weather's been good. That's really it. I mean,
that's real Minnesotan conversation. How's the weather? It's okay,
Weather's been nice. We're getting some warmer temperatures. We're not getting, we're not having to rely on burning buildings for heat.
What a change! The summer of love is over.
Exactly. But hey, Tom, we got Tom in the chat. Tom,
hey, what's going on? Tom?
So yeah, there's not really too much going on.
That's good.
Yeah,
news is good news, considering how close you are and proximity to a rather hot spot in the United States. So no news is good news, and we're glad that you're safe and alive, and as you say, you're not having to burn buildings for heat. So that's always a plus.
And because of all that, it makes it especially easy to wash your balls.
Wash your balls, guys. Come on. It's 2021.
Check out tacticalsoap.com to support the show. So you can use the coupon code 10K Rum to get 10% off on all purchases. And a little bit of that supports the show. Or check out our Subscribe Star at subscribestar.com/shitlord-preachers, where you can check out for as little as $1 a month, but $5 is way better because you get the Raw Take series. But do check all that out, of course. Links in the description. Now, there's a lot and a little news. It's a weird one.
Yes, the news that we have is not very expansive, let's say.
But yeah. So because I know you gave me a couple of the few of the topics that we're going to go through, and some of them I kind of knew. It's just it all kind of blurs together when the weeks are going by. So I didn't listen to the entire Joe Biden address to Congress.
So it's really not funny. The State of the Union. This is him addressing the joint session of Congress and the Senate.
And
I'll tell you, I didn't listen to any of it.
Technically it's supposed to be an address to the State of the Union or whatever it is.
The State of the Union, yes.
The little bit that I did listen to seemed to be a lot of taking credit for things that weren't entirely accurate, kind of, and of course trying to, the routine. Like, I think I've seen just about every administration in my lifetime, or at least the ones that I could remember, did a little bit of this, sort of blaming the previous administration.
Well, that's very common for Democrats.
I remember people kept railing against Obama for blaming Bush, and then
right up to the end of his term, Obama was still blaming Bush for like 8 fucking years later.
And then Trump would blame Obama, and now Biden is blaming Trump.
You're allowed a certain amount of that probably within your first couple years because, of course, you inherit the administration before.
Yeah.
But what ends up happening, like Obama was literally, coming down to the end of the wire of his term, and he's still blaming Bush, and he blamed Bush even after he left office. He just never got over it, sort of thing. So I'm going to give Biden a pass because all presidents do this. They inherit whatever the state of the country is.
Until later, if he still does it.
Yeah, if he's still doing it. And that's if Biden is even still there, to be very honest.
Yeah. Now, did you hear the... Now, I saw some of this, and I wasn't too sure. I didn't want to take it too seriously, but some people thought the address to Congress was staged.
I've been hearing those kinds of things a lot. There was some people do like a real thorough breakdown of the Biden videos when he's supposedly sitting in the White House, and they're showing you like, look, this is the White House every other time. This is the White House now, and there seem to be some very bizarre differences in the background, like through the window, things that are not supposed to be there seem to be there. I don't know how true that is. I know there's a lot of QAnon people who are doing all the deep fake stuff and basically saying it's all fake and his teeth don't line up and there's funny things going on with his neck. And as I say, I didn't watch it. I'm not really going down that road. As far as we know, this is the official address. And until we know otherwise, we really can't say. Well, I mean, what have you heard?
I just saw people that were like trying to show the video. Like if you zoom in on Biden, it could be some green or blue screen stuff going on. It's a bit of a reach. I look at
how many people are in the how many people are in the Congress and the Senate? It's like over 1,000 people.
No, 535
in total.
Yes, so it's 435 representatives, 100 senators.
Okay, and there's staff and there's the media, so it's a little bit more than that. If you're gonna do a deep fake, if you're gonna do like a conspiratorial address, the last thing you want is that many people watching it because they're not gonna keep their mouths shut. The Republicans would open their mouth and be like, "This is all staged." They'll take the opportunity to rag on it, which is why I don't give those kind of theories too much credit. If it's like just him in a room with a bunch of friendly reporters, like all from CNN, maybe they're using a stage. That a little more plausible, but not an address with that many
but
people.
even if there is a stage, I'm not. Yeah, he's still talking to the people. He's doing what he's doing. It's not too much of a bother per se. Now, if they started getting into like analyzing like speech patterns, footage of him and stuff, then we could probably talk about that. But that's obviously not the case. It's like he's doing just just fine in a somewhat sarcastic tone. He's doing just fine fumbling over his own words by himself. I know I listened to some people who kind of got into that, like, when they do these addresses, they do have the teleprompters and everything, and he had that. So he definitely was ironing out a lot of the fumbling over words. But the fumbling of words still happened from time to time. Now, I don't want to get too hard on that one, and especially with this address. Usually, you're just seeing a lot of it in his impromptu conversations, interviews, stuff like that. The man definitely has. It's a bit. It's beyond. It's not necessarily. It's not stuttering, because I've heard stuttering. That's not stuttering. That's
no. The stuttering thing was made up by the media to try and explain his fuck ups. You don't ever hear him stutter. You hear him ramble off completely off the rails, and they're trying to say, "Well, no, that's a stutter." No, that's not what it is.
Because stuttering is the struggle to get the word out.
Correct.
What he does is the wrong words.
Is ramble away from the topic.
Because
exactly.
he I don't know if you saw some clips. He made some and I'm saying, and I'm quoting this for everyone who's going to try to pin this, but basically he said,
"Hey Brian, welcome to the show."
The what was it? The fags. I mean the flags. The flags. And something about Jews. He said.
Yeah.
And it was. He didn't mean to say Jews. It said some other word, but it was just like.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that one.
Wait, what?
To task on that.
yeah. So you get these things.
Yeah, his recent gaffe. I think he said he was about to launch the biggest tax cut in the history of the United States, when in fact he's actually doing the biggest tax raise in the United States. So
exactly. Yeah. Because I've looked into that too. The capital gains tax increase is ridiculous. Like,
I mean, we can get into that.
But he mentioned it in his address. I know that.
Yes, he did. That he's basically going to tax you guys out of existence.
Well, so this is the problem is who he wants to tax. It's like, because it used to be, it was always the millionaires and billionaires.
Yeah.
But this is kind of taxing. This is reaching into the nearly.
But it's always been the 1%, which is anyone making 400,000 or more.
Yeah, but this can. But since that group is growing, their influence on our economy is definitely shifted to.
Yeah, but the rich have always had the influence on the economy.
No, I know. So this is, and I even talked about how this. I was looking into this because this was brought up before his address, and I was writing some stuff up on it, looking into it for Spike Cohen, and it's because the best way to recover an economy is tax your way out of it, right?
Yeah, tax your way to prosperity. That's how it's always been done in the past.
I mean, aside from the obvious spending problems that are in government. Taxing your way out of it, especially taxing capital gains, is not really the way. If you want to do taxes, I think you can definitely tax on maybe certain types of sales or corporate taxes, if that, but still you're not really doing much. Like, the best way is really to sort of unleash an economy, not burden it with more taxes.
Is to grow the economy, is what you mean.
Yeah. Whether it's
broaden the base.
Because if you want that, you want small businesses to grow. Like, what is the big problem we've kind of faced because of this pandemic? Small businesses going away, dying,
correct,
struggling, completely being destroyed and gone. So what do? You get those people to reinvest, to either get back in, to be more proactive and wanting to invest more, to grow more, give them the incentive to grow, not give them the incentive to not make transactions. Because I was listening about the difference between short-term and long-term capital gains, and how that's going to affect all that. But anyways, that's
it's the capital gains thing is not a winning strategy, because you are basically taxing the retirement funds of a lot of the elderly who rely on their 401ks and their stock market dividends and other things to basically see them through retirement. Second of all, the wealthy corporations never pay the taxes anyway. They pass that off to the consumers.
Right.
So you jack up the tax to whatever the case might be. Either they have the ability to reincorporate in some more friendly territory, like Ireland, for instance, or wherever, Bahamas, Cayman, and these places, or they just pass the price increase on to their consumers. And again, the rich and the powerful and these things have means by which they do not have to pay the taxes, right? They have all sorts of sophisticated instruments, things like stock options and other things. They're not going to pay it. And worst of all, if it is that he does hike it to the extent that he's talking about, why would they stick around? Right? It is a global marketplace, and these people, of course, can go and it's the reason Facebook, Google, Pfizer, most of these big companies are incorporated in the Republic of Ireland. The corporate tax in Ireland is 12.5%. And if you invest a certain amount of money going back, it goes as low as like 8%. In fact, the EU right now is trying to insist that they have to raise their taxes because, of course, COVID relief, everybody needs more money and stuff like that. So the Biden tax plan is delusional. And it's definitely not productive for the country or any of these different types of things. It's a shame. It's a shame. But I mean, the left that has very little understanding on economics to begin with. I think like recently out here in Europe, Amazon, of course, did like 44 billion euros in sales. And everybody's screaming, oh, they didn't pay any taxes. And these people who've never read a balance sheet, don't even understand economics, have no concept of business, don't understand that is gross sales. Their actual net profit was minus $1.5 billion. All of that money went back into restocking, reinvesting to basically keep up with the massive demand that came from COVID.
Yeah.
Taxes are paid from profits, right? Of which these people have no idea what any of that is. So yeah, it's a political football. It's definitely not going to helping. The companies that Trump actually levied to stay are probably now going to leave, like Ford and other of the manufacturing companies. So, and on top of that, I think he's proposed like new union laws that are basically going to force union dues upon like all the right to work states. Big payoff to the unions, but as we know, that comes with fixed contracts, higher wages, and all these different types of things. Again, that is not helping the free economy. And most of all, it means people like Uber and DoorDash and all of these independent contractors now have to be registered as employees and get all of the benefits that come with that, including time off, paid vacation, all healthcare, and all these other types of things. Basically, what destroyed the gig economy in California, they're going to take it nationwide, right? That's another one. So the economic plan going forward from Biden is grim for the freelancers, for the gig economy, and the big corporations will just fucking move. They know the game. They have no loyalties to the U.S. Most of them have moved out anyway, or they're cycling their money through different tax havens. It's not going to make any difference.
Yeah. So,
did you hear about his ratings for the most voted for president in the United States?
Tanked. I heard that.
So to give some context, because only the dead voted for Biden. Even the very far left, CNN and Rachel Maddow of MSNBC and so forth, were trying to temper expectations for his address. And they basically said on the low end, it should be about, low 30 million plus. Now, for context, Trump's first address was 47 million. Obama's first address, I think, was like 52 million. Of course, Obama was, it was a historic appointment of, the first black president and so forth. Guess where Biden's was?
Don't know.
23 million. Yes, 7 million less than the low end of expectations from CNN and others. The most voted for president, most popular in the history of the U.S.
Yeah, you're talking also during, I mean, granted the tail end, but still in a pandemic when everyone's home.
Everyone's home. And that's, of course, how CNN spun it. It was like, oh, well, you know, ratings are dropping overall. No, they're not. The most popular president in the history of the United States got less views than even the worst estimate of views. And on top of that, have you looked at any of the clips and responses on YouTube, like all the feedback and the thumbs up and thumbs down?
No.
You could take a quick gander. Overwhelmingly thumbs down to all of Biden's clips and speeches. In fact, it is so bad. Not only has YouTube been caught deleting the downvotes, they are actually in consultation now to remove the downvotes completely.
Now, I will be. We do need to be clear. Well, it is important to show like the dislikes that are there. They've been talking about getting rid of dislikes for a little bit now before Biden. Because I remember the talk of they were beta testing or whatever they were doing, removing the dislike function, the dislike number, because there were people seeing it on their YouTube pages. A few weeks before this.
Right. The only time this conversation has come up is since Biden has been elected and all of his things.
No, and I get that. And I get that. Yeah. Because I got an email about it from YouTube saying we're testing this and you might be seeing this. Some other people were also seeing it too.
But it's a result of not only Biden, to be fair. Everything that Susan Wojcicki puts out, it's equally.
Yeah, I mean, giving herself the freaking freedom of
the freedom of expression award.
Yes. No. And the most popular president of the United States is getting ratioed on YouTube. Yeah, I mean, what else is new?
Yeah, it's like, I mean, even Trump, who is supposedly the big orange man, bad, the Satan and all this other kinds of things, even his speeches. So of course, the left is saying, oh yeah, the reason that Trump lost is yes, he got a lot of votes, but people hated him so much, they voted him out, right? That's the narrative, of course. Not anywhere close to this. Nowhere even near for the supposedly the most despised president that inspired more people to vote for his opposition in the history of the United States. No, not even close. Not even close.
Yeah.
Did you see the Republican response from Tim Scott?
No, I didn't.
Did not. So, as you know, customarily, normally it's the State of the Union, not the joint session, but there is a response from the opposition party, which would be the Republicans.
Mm-hmm.
So Tim Scott is a black guy. Hold on, let me see, where is he? He's from, I think I have it somewhere around here, South Carolina. And he did like a 10-15 minute rebuttal, basically speaking about debunking the January 6th being worse than Pearl Harbor thing. Basically saying that of course the Republicans are willing to work together, that they were working together before the pandemic and they worked together to get the relief to the American people, etc. They want to continue to do that, but the divisive language and rhetoric is not helping. And he ended off basically with America is not a racist country and that type of language is not helping. And he can say that he never dreamed that he would be there addressing the nation, coming from a broken home and all these other things, but here he is, and he can attest to that, right? 15 minutes, no big deal. Of course, the woke walkers had a lot to say about Mr. Scott. And trending on Twitter was Uncle Tim, which of course is a play on the racial slur of, I don't know if I could say it on the show without getting nuked, but yes.
You could call it father's brother Tom.
Right, yeah, it's the father's brother's Tom, exactly.
Yeah. Which it's such a weird one. Like, it's essentially what they use for any individual that is not in line with. They think, whether they think like they're cucking or they're like going against their interests in some way. Like they're like, boy, what would a term be for like a Chinese guy?
But that's it. Like, no other race has the stigma of being a monolithic voting group, except maybe the Jews. The Jews kind of always vote Democrat. That's kind of their second, they're generally secular. That's their secular religion. But no other
really
group
touches on that. Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody really. It's it's not a massive voting bloc, let's say. But no other group has a stigma attached to their politics. So you got, Democrats and Republicans in white, Latino, Asian, whatever, Hispanic, whatever mix you want to come. The only place that stigma has been perpetrated is in the Black community. Yeah. And they're treated like a monolith, right? Which is, that's the whole premise. So yeah, Uncle Tim. And somebody who actually fell into that conversation was Joy Behar of The View. Is that her name?
Oh, you're talking about her, like, misspoken words of Caitlyn Jenner?
she did that, and then she went after Tim Scott and basically said like he's a token and he represents a a minute sliver of the Republican. And the only reason they put him there is because he's Black. And, she just went off on this racist tirade on The View. And of course, she gets a complete pass on that. Nobody's calling her out for her clear bigotry, and her racism.
Yeah. Or when she clearly goes against the woke. Not even really woke. I mean, do we so when you and I, because I'm just referencing back to the Caitlyn Jenner thing.
Yes.
Like, because then we're going to touch on that a little later, but when you just in common everyday conversation, if you're referring to Caitlyn Jenner, how would you refer to this person?
As a she or a her, I guess.
Yeah. And that's not I mean, it's not even like the whole, that wasn't really shoved in our faces. Like it happened definitely. And it was kind of like a thing, but it's not really like, I don't say it's like, it's not difficult, so just go with it. But at the same time, it's like, it's not really a big deal. So, and we're not, we're not on the left. We're just kind of, okay, fine. You want to,
correct.
Like when we look at Blair White, we say she, things like that. Mm-hmm. Joy Behar said he freaking a dozen times in like a 5-minute window and just didn't know how to figure that out. And then claimed, I'm sleepy or whatever. I didn't even sleep. And in the same way now, there's a pass there. And now you can just turn it on its head and go, oh, now I'm going to start calling these people, this term. And it's like,
it's
there's
the hypocrisy.
There's a reason South Park has Token as a character. It is
correct
entirely for that purpose of making fun of the both for and against tokenism.
Correct.
Because it's like you've seen the token jokes. Like it's always, it's never quite the way you think it would go. Because on one hand, it's making fun of it's obviously making fun of tokenism.
Yes.
But it also kind of shows they don't take it too seriously either.
Correct.
Like it's both
South
ways.
Park is
yeah. You never know. On one hand, it's like the left will cheer because they're agreeing with us, and then the right will come around. Yeah, but they're agreeing with us too, and then they're like, well, what do we do?
They're being ridiculous. They're making fun of it. So
because they're like, I don't know if you remember. Just real quick, there was an episode where they wanted to make a Christian band, like a Christian.
Oh yes, yeah. I can't remember what season that was.
And
yes.
And so basically, Cartman just goes, Token, just go in your basement and find a bass guitar. And he goes, I don't have a bass guitar. And he goes, no. He's like, Token, you're Black. Just you'll have a bass guitar in the basement. And then he goes and he finds the bass guitar. And he goes, hey, there was a bass guitar. And he goes, all right, Token, just give us like a bass line. He goes, I don't know how to play bass. And he goes, token. We've already been over this. You're black. You know how to play bass.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, but he starts playing it.
Starts playing bass perfectly, and he's like, "God damn it!"
And you don't know how to, like, the left and the right, who both want to, like, try to, you know, take that joke. It's like neither of them can take it. It's like, what do we do?
Yeah. No, South Park is brilliant at that. Even you know, shitting on the Jews with the whole Jew gold. I don't know if you saw that one.
No, I never seen that.
I mean, they do it for everybody, right? They do it for the Asians, they do it for the Jews, Hispanics, the Mexicans, right? Even Caitlyn Jenner, right? So yeah. Equal opportunity offensive behavior is, you know, the American way. So, but I mean, just one more point on the Biden thing. Did you see this completely ridiculous poll that CBS came up with, claiming that 85% of Americans approved of what Biden said in his joint statements to Congress?
I remember there was like different thresholds for how they asked that question. Like
absolute bullshit, but
yeah, it was like the difference between do you approve versus specific feelings. Like, are you happy about it or not happy about it? Like, there's a difference, because it's like, if I, you know, hey, are you okay with this? Well, I'm okay with it. But then, okay, are you on board with this? You support this? Well, no. There's a difference.
It's worse than that. It's much worse than that. First of all, 85% of Americans didn't watch. So they framed it wrong to begin with, right? What they should have said is 85% of the viewers we polled agreed. Now they polled 10,000 people. Do you know how many they actually included in their poll?
What, 5,000?
1,000.
Oh, wow.
And out of that 1,000, they made sure that overwhelmingly 54% of them were Democrats. I think like 25% of them were said to be independent, and the balance were Republicans. So they literally picked the result that they wanted. And it was so blatant that even the far left Snopes.com had to call them out for their bullshit. Like, no, you're just spinning. This is just complete spin. It's the saying that 85% of Americans approve of what Biden is saying. This is the level of like a Ministry of Truth trying to push this kind of brainwashing on people. It's insane. Absolutely insane.
Yep. No, it's I look at that and I go, I really didn't know that on the polling thing. I just heard it was like a splitting of, like, they weren't really specific with their questions. So because they were so broad that they kind of painted it as, oh, see, everyone's okay with this. We're all on board, when they weren't specific, like, okay, you know, issues or actual approval. Yeah. What is it some people call the lame stream media?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're just making shit up as they go.
Yeah.
I mean, they just got caught in another defamation lawsuit, and they had to retract something from Veritas and something else against Trump. I can't even keep track with it at this point. And they basically came out and admitted they don't know what they're doing. They don't fact check anything. They just run with what they assume is the narrative. So the New York Times has admitted they're not a newspaper. Mm-hmm. They're just like a giant opinion column with no investigation, don't fact check. Mm-hmm. And this is the paper of record. This is where you're supposed to be getting your information. Yeah, it's fascinating stuff, man. Joe Rogan. Oh, poor Joe. Did you hear about this controversy?
I did. So I listened. No. So, okay. So,
we must have him on the show and let him explain what happened.
So I did listen to the episode he had with Dave Smith. Dave Smith is which I can only describe as celebritarian. No, he's a libertarian within the party. He's a contributing member and everything. He really pushes a lot of their ideas. He's a big part of the Mises Caucus, and so he was on, and he was talking about a lot of different things. We're talking about like foreign wars, the 2020 presidential election, and all this stuff. So they get to vaccines and lockdowns and all this stuff. And Rogan kind of comes on and says, someone comes to me and they're like, they're 20, 21, I think he said it was. If you're 21, you're healthy, you're working out, you're eating well, you're doing all this stuff, because he kind of admitted, like, he's on all sorts of stuff too. And he goes, if you're doing all the right things and you're healthy and you ask me if you should get the vaccine. Now, there is greater context and such. Like, he was fully on board with taking the vaccine, still is, because the UFC and stuff wanted him to get the vaccine, and he was on board with that. But then they were going to get the Johnson & Johnson vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
And just before he was going to get it, it got paused because of the blood clot problem. There's the AstraZeneca vaccine in Europe that's being stopped in a lot of countries.
Mm-hmm.
There's concerns over Pfizer, there's concerns over Moderna. Like, all this is going on. And these companies and the government understand, like, okay, kind of roll it back a bit. Like, the vaccination rates that Biden is kind of pushing are kind of not quite there because of this. Mm-hmm. So he points this, he says, if this 21-year-old guy in this hypothetical situation that's healthy and everything and asked me if you should get the vaccine, I would say no, you don't need to.
Correct.
And so then Fauci, who's on behalf of the White House and all this, kind of called out and said, since when did Rogan become a doctor? He's not he can't, this isn't medical advice. He should be giving this advice. And then Rogan then clarified in a recent episode of his statements, like, I'm not anti-vax. He goes, I'm getting it. You're getting, and his guest, you're getting it. We're all getting it.
Mm-hmm.
But now, some people were kind of thinking, like, maybe he got pressured to make the statement. I would say there's definitely the social media pressure and stuff, and definitely getting called out by the White House. He feels maybe he should have at least said something. I think he was clear in both senses. Like, he was just understanding, like you look at the numbers, you look at the people who are getting infected. Young people are still not getting infected as much.
Or hospitalized or dying. They are the lowest risk group of individuals.
Yeah. Now, and he clarified on this too, someone was saying, like, well, young people tend to be the most active. Like, this hypothetical 21-year-old is traveling and moving around in daily life the most. So he's a likely transmitter. I'm like, okay, I see that. But the fact that, this is my bigger problem. Rogan is not a medical expert. We all know this, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't worry about if weed, if DMT, all these things are just going to get way out of control because of Rogan. He is the most popular podcaster in the world.
Yes.
But when no one's worrying about DMT sales going through the roof, no one's worrying about weed going crazy, there's way bigger factors at play there. So if the biggest podcaster in the world says, I would tell a 21-year-old who is healthy and working out and all this stuff, it shouldn't get the vaccine. All of a sudden, this is the big, whoop-de-doo. No. Like, who cares?
Well, you've hit the nail on the head.
Like,
because it has nothing to do with that.
He has literally thousands of hours of just talking about everything.
All sorts of drugs.
Drugs, sex, rock and roll, chimps, sex,
aliens,
prostitutes, aliens.
He's had on Alex Jones. Interdimensional,
child molesters, whatever, everything. And he says 21-year-olds. Like, really?
I mean,
really?
He, as you said, it was completely taken out of context. Just before he even said that, he's like, absolutely, if you're old and vulnerable, you should definitely get the vaccine. But like you said, if a 21-year-old who's healthy and active, not just being 21, healthy and active and doing all of these things, I would say no. But you're exactly right, Amos. It has nothing to do with the fact that he's sharing his opinion, which is one I actually share. I don't think we need to be vaccinate the vulnerable, and anybody who wants the vaccine, absolutely. I don't think it should be mandatory. I don't think it should be forced on people. And the young, you want them to get the herd immunity, so let it spread through the schools. That was actually kind of part of the herd immunity plan. You want it to spread, so they get it early, just like what people do with chicken pox and young kids. Mm-hmm. They have chicken pox parties where the kids all come, they get it, and they're immune for life and stuff like that. But exactly what you said, it has nothing to do with the fact that he shared this comment.
Yeah.
The fact is, he has given a platform to people like Alex Jones, and he's made, people who supposedly, anti-trans comments, and the woke walkers and the SJW types at Spotify are just looking for an excuse. Just an excuse to try and exercise some kind of creative control and editing what he's saying. So as you say, it has nothing to do with this whole thing. It's just like how BLM and NAACP didn't say anything about the Uncle Tim comment.
Yeah,
it's the same thing for this. They've let all of these other things pass because it is not about actually being concerned. Nobody's going to be taking health advice from Joe Rogan, right? Just like how the media spun the Trump thing about injecting yourself with bleach. Nobody's going to go and do
that he pushes on his show. For all these health products he pushes on his show.
Yeah.
Regardless if you think if it's some like woo-woo pseudoscience stuff, he's pushing a lot of stuff and no one calls him out on that. He's pushing like
it's supplements,
CBD oil stuff.
Exactly.
High nutrient like shakes or whatever.
Yeah.
Fucking everything. He's making money and all this, like, which is fine. But no one comes against him on that, but then he makes this one comment about vaccines and, holy shit. Like,
yeah.
but you look at, like, he's explained his experiences, like the Moderna vaccine, all these other vaccines that have shown these, like, problems going on. And rightly so, the governments or, bodies involved with distributing these kind of slow them down or put them on hold to, like,
correct.
Hey, we got to figure this out. Mike, we've talked about how I am high possibility vaccinated.
Right.
It's
a double blind. You're not sure, but yes.
Yeah.
50-50 chance.
It's like 60. It's 2 to 1 chance.
Okay, fair enough. So
about
33%. Yeah.
That I don't have it.
Right.
So, but the reason I just decided to partake in the study was, there's pay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm young. Am I the healthiest? No. Am I in the best shape? No, but I'm young.
Yeah.
I can, like, if something really happens and this kind of messes with me, I'm still young enough that I can, like, recover from stuff like this. That was the consideration I made. And I also just thought of, like, well, overall, no risk factors and such. And, okay, there's, I'm, like, also the type of vaccine that it was. Like, it wasn't like a cancer vaccine. Like, usually for how strong of a virus or disease or something that the vaccine is meant to combat, like, you can kind of make a judgment. Like, if this was like a really deadly diseases vaccine, maybe not to, like people know about, like, the anthrax vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
That's like 6 doses and it really screws you up.
Yeah.
But this is like, this is a coronavirus vaccine.
It's not a vaccine.
Well, I understand. Like, it's what is it? It's an RNA.
Yeah, messenger thing. RNA shot.
Right. That. Yeah.
Yeah, which has never been tested in humans before.
Well, there was the study that was going on before me.
There was
the one that I'm partaking in.
Yeah. There were recent studies since the development of this particular vaccine, but there are no human trials, or, well, I mean, there are animal trials that didn't go great, but you are the trial, right?
Exactly. So I'm thinking, but I'm weighing it like, okay, it's being this, like, what type of disease is combating?
Did you know it was a messenger RNA vaccine when you went for the trial?
Yeah, when you read through it, it explains, like, what is going on, what it's trying to do, and I've looked into, like, what it does. It's I mean, how would you define, like, what would you define as vaccine then if you don't think it's a vaccine?
No, a vaccine has a legal definition, which is a scaled down version of the virus that teaches your body to produce antigens to enhance immunity, right? This doesn't do any of that.
Well, it uses messenger RNA to get your cells to produce the spike protein. That's
correct, which is only a part. That's not. It's only a part of the virus.
So it's like a part. Yeah, it's because messenger RNA vaccine, vaccines, quote unquote,
shots
are what 2008, 2009 was when they came out. At least the idea was proposed.
No, it's since back in the 80s.
Oh,
they've been testing this stuff for coronaviruses and it never worked, which is kind of concerning. And all the animals.
Well, that's why the effectiveness is at 100% too. That's the thing too.
Correct. Well, not that any vaccine is 100%, but most vaccines will give you immunity, and it'll not just reduce symptoms. It will actually keep you from getting sick, and it will keep you from transmitting, which is all part of the legal definition. It gives you the immunity against the virus. Right. This doesn't do any of that. This attacks the spike protein, which is just one part of the virus. There are hundreds of different types of proteins in the body, and the spike protein is in like 16 different organs in the body. So even though it's attacking it in the virus, it's also going to attack it in your body as well, because there's no distinction between the two.
Would you at least agree that it does something to help fight the virus?
No, it will reduce the symptoms. That's it. So the spike protein,
so it's lessening viral load is basically what it is.
Yeah. So the spike protein is what it uses to crack open the cell and transmit the information to reproduce itself. Mm-hmm. So the thinking is, if you remove the spike protein, it can't get into the cell. But depending on where it gets into the body and how many cells it infects, there really isn't. It's not stopping the cell. It's not stopping the reproduction. You just need one and it's going to multiply. So it's not really fulfilling the legal definition of a vaccine.
So it's like half a vaccine.
It's not even that. It's just it's produces a spike protein. That's kind of it. That's what it does. It teaches your body to attack a spike protein. Doesn't teach it to attack a virus. That's basically the distinction. And the problem is the spike protein is actually, it's in other organs, but at the same time, in and of itself, it can actually unlock all sorts of things in cells if it's just like floating through the bloodstream.
Right.
And that's what we're seeing now.
Yeah. So I basically saw it as like overall risk fairly minimal. Now, if I was older or I've had certain risk factors, I'd probably think twice about it. But no, I read through the literature on it, and there's a consent form that explains
the literature they gave you.
True. They told me about the risks involved with the studies that have been done, because there was an Oxford study on the same what was it? There's a term for it. It's like the number or whatever serial number they give for it. And they said it was in the Oxford study that people were contracting transverse myelitis.
Yeah.
And I said, well, what about all the people that what are people that are already in the study now? Like, I was contacted about a study from 3 months before I started that began. They said the worst of it, and we're supposed to tell you this, is the worst of it was like a fever.
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay. So
after a couple of weeks of having the vaccine, sure.
At that point, for those people, they would have gotten the second dose.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, yeah, it's usually there's that. And I told you after I got my first dose, I felt like a weird immune response. Like I felt kind of off for a few hours. And then that was that. After the second shot, I didn't feel anything. And that was a few months, that was a good couple months ago. So I'm going in for my second blood draw. So this is like 180 days out from the first dose.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think you're in a healthy enough demographic. I don't think you have anything to worry about. And there's a possibility you don't have it.
Yeah. Like someone was telling me about, I don't know if you've heard of Gardasil.
Not sure what that is.
That was it
was a vaccine, wasn't it?
It was a vaccine for women
back in the 60s, and it caused
no, more recent than that.
More recent than that. Okay, that's not the one I'm thinking of.
Let me look it up quick. So,
I mean, the one I remember is Pandemirex, which is back in the 2009.
Gardasil is an HPV.
Oh yes, the
virus.
immunity for vaccine. Yeah.
Yeah. So for 9 types of HPV, basically cervical, vaginal, and vulvar cancers.
It causes cancer. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was like heavily like advertised and such for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And people were getting it,
mm-hmm.
but also people were having adverse side effects to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I know someone who basically had some sort of like neural damage and stuff.
Yeah.
As a reaction to it. Now, they've recovered a lot of what they kind of lost to this, but the damage has still been done, and a lot of like getting some sort of compensation or,
it's
recompense
an
from the
uphill
companies
battle.
it was they not a lot of people got a lot back from that company to like take responsibility. So like
Because
the vaccine is still
they all
out
have
there.
immunity. Yeah, they all have immunity. So it's actually the government that has to pay out if there's damage. Same thing with this vaccine. The government has to pay out. Oh yeah, definitely. No, they still waive liability when you go into the trial.
So yeah, with this one they said like if there's ever any adverse side effects or interaction with the COVID virus, because they were still seeing how it react with it, like.
Mm-hmm.
It was weird. They said they detected an overall effectiveness that in combating the virus, but it was a weird polarization. On one end,
let me guess. You're immune to the virus the first time, but the second time, the virus, if you're exposed to it, it gets a lot worse. It worsens the symptoms.
A little bit different than that. So on one hand,
because that's what happened with the animals.
Yeah, on one hand, you were like a lot of people were seeing like they didn't get infected,
right?
Or at least they didn't display symptoms. So because they could only know if they're infected by getting tested, which is if they had symptoms. So there was like a percentage of people that were fine that just kind of went about their life and that's it. But they had part of the trial. They admitted like if you catch COVID during the trial, now you could have gotten the placebo and caught COVID, and that's that.
Sure.
But they said there were cases where people got the vaccine and had it worse. Now, there's no way of really confirming if they had it. Like you said, the whole first time got over it, second time was worse. So that was a weird one there. But they said there were cases where it somehow COVID would have been worse for you after getting the vaccine.
You become hypersensitive to coronaviruses, which is what happened with the ferrets and the cats. So they were fine. And then what ends up happening is that your body is so busy fighting off the spike proteins because we don't know if it switches off. We don't know how long it stays in the body, whatever. It has no time to deal with anything else. So any other infection that comes in later on kills the host. So you become hypersensitive to coronaviruses, which is, ironically, that's what the UK government is testing right now. They're asking for people who have been vaccinated if they're willing to be re-exposed to the virus, because all of that was supposed, they lied and said that was done before. It's never been done.
Yeah.
Now we're going to find out if
and for what I do, and what the exposure that I've had, like, no, I'm not running around, without a mask doing a bunch of stuff, like, going into crowded areas. I'll wear a mask in crowded areas, but if I'm outside, I'm not wearing a mask. And I'm not freaking out if I'm not wearing a mask somewhere or something. But, I'm kind of like just careful enough to get by, but not like super careful like I'm freaking out. And I still haven't gotten infected, at least as far as I know.
I never wear the mask when I'm outside. So
no, and that's a weird thing too. That was another weird one. The whole CDC says fully vaccinated people can go outside without a mask, and I was like, "What? You saw that, right?"
Yeah, that's a recent, but that's the carrot and the stick, right? So they're basically trying to convince you can get more freedoms if you get the vaccine. and we the gracious government have allowed you to enjoy maskless time because you get the vaccine. It's patronizing bitches.
I don't understand that, because I was like,
nobody catches it when they're outside.
Like, I told you about how I went to an interview for work.
Mm-hmm.
I go into the room, I'm talking to like all the the management and stuff, and I'm wearing a mask because we're in an office building and stuff.
In an office, sure.
So then they kind of they said, all right, let's talk. And then they kind of looked at me and said, wait, like, are you okay? And I said, because they weren't wearing a mask. And I thought, oh, if you don't wear it, if you're okay, I'm okay. And they're like, yeah, we're all vaccinated. And I said, and you are, right? I said, well, I mean, there's a 60% chance that I am.
Yeah.
So I just took my mask off and we talked, and that was fine.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine.
But that's how I say most people are kind of taking it, as if they're like, we get the shot, we're done. Like, back to normal. Like, just we're moving on.
In theory, but that doesn't seem to be...
I mean in theory, but I mean even people who like, whether they believe in it or not, or they're just, it's not really like you have your like crazy, pro-mask, pro-vax, like,
Yeah.
But even after all that, triple mask and all this, but then you have like a wide swath, I'd say, of like the more reasonable kind of independent people. Like, they're not really feeding into anything. They're just like, okay, take my mask off, I get my shot. All right, back to normal. We're fine. Like, there are people that are on track to believe like we're going back to normal pretty soon.
I would hope so, but that's not what's happening.
Yeah, so I wanted to kind of drop on something because I just found out about this last night. So Tim Walz is the governor of Minnesota. I've talked about him a few times, and his next election comes up in 2022.
Okay.
Are
you running against him?
No.
No. Be a good campaign.
Legally I could, but I wouldn't.
Get your name out there, bro.
So he is he fully admitted that he feels he's not going to get reelected because he knows.
Yeah.
What do you mean? What?
If the people of Minneapolis and other places have any sense, hopefully they will not. But we've seen these people get back in because fair and other things,
Yeah.
Hopefully rational will win.
No, he's even said on camera saying like, if he even said to his opponents, like, I know you guys are angry with me and upset with me because of these extended lockdowns. He goes, I want you to be alive. I want you to live for as long as you can to survive this. And he goes, even if you have to convince yourself to live long enough to vote me out, so be it.
Right.
So it tells me that he's, to some degree, now, being a politician, there's question to that. If he's willing to say that, he probably believes something of what he's saying. Like, hey, I don't care that you hate me that we're doing this lockdown, but I believe you'll live longer because of this. And if you just live long and vote me out, I don't care. And I'm like, hey, that's kind of a, there's a little bit of something behind that. I'm not saying he's a great guy.
Sure,
or whatever.
Sure.
But he believes that. And it's like, fine. But so his big opponent right now, who's seeking nomination from the Minnesota Republican Party, Scott Jensen. He's a former senator in the Minnesota Senate. Seems like a good guy and everything. I don't know if too much about him yet, but I saw a video that popped up. Now the title's a bit misleading. It seemed to be very clickbaity, but it was talking about what's going on in the Minnesota government, with the Minnesota Department of Health, and kind of their policy regarding social events. So Tim Walz and the Minnesota Department of Health have been working on like reopening and stuff. One of the things they've been really pushing is to suspend youth sports. So, elementary school, high school, that's sports.
Okay.
Because here's just get a load of this case that they're making. They were saying first off, it was because schools and all this stuff being big areas of transmission and all this. And I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. So they wanted to kind of maintain remote schooling, and then but then they were now that some kids are going back to school, now they're really pushing like youth sports. And the case wasn't really that strong, and people were really on board with it. So then they started spinning this new idea of youth sports in connection with long-term care. Long-term,
Right.
so they said they've been seeing long-term care patients have been seeing an increase in COVID deaths in Minnesota.
And how is that connected to youth sports?
So a consultant from New York was
of course, a
board.
Consultant, not a doctor. Okay.
A consultant was brought on board to connect the two.
Exactly.
So here's what had happened. I don't know her exact name, but she's from New York. So here's what's really funny. So she comes to Minnesota to consult Tim Walz, Minnesota Department of Health. How do we spin this thing? Because parents go to youth events, right? They go to youth sports.
Sport the kids.
Sport the kids. But what happens at youth events? You talk to other parents. You're getting popcorn. You're talking to other parents. So there's the exposure to other parents, between parents. Okay? Fine.
Okay.
Then there's the exposure you would have, because what do you do with your kids after sports? You take them out to dinner, right? You do some after sport thing, which does happen. I agree with that.
Sure.
But then some of those parents and kids and other people at those events, whether it's other parents, other kids, other people at those restaurant sporting events, they could be long-term care workers. Transmission as a result of youth sports.
Oh, brilliant. So we're playing 6 degrees of separation.
So that's why.
That's not a real policy. Did they actually publish that?
It's the statement. They did.
They actually said they
made this connection on that to kind of like make that argument. So here's what's really funny. This consultant, who of course then went back to New York.
Yeah.
New York is opening up to indoor dining.
Yes.
But a lot of them are still doing remote schooling.
Mm-hmm.
So this consultant has a 5-year-old kid in kindergarten and is openly tweeting that New York needs to reopen the schools because you need to demonstrate leadership and put my kids back into school.
Well, there's a difference between her work face and her home face.
Talk about freaking
hypocrisy.
Exactly.
It's her job. And that's what spin is. Okay, what I wanted to touch on with that whole thing with the vaccination stuff. The UK is supposedly way ahead of pretty much the rest of the world in terms of vaccinations, right? All of the vulnerable, in theory, have been vaccinated. Never mind that senior deaths are higher than they were during COVID. That's besides the point. We have vaccinated more than any other person. In fact, it's slowing down at this point because people like myself and the younger people are like, fuck it, we don't need a vaccine. But our Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, asked on a live question time on television, I've been vaccinated. Can I go and see my friends and family? And can I stop wearing a mask? And he flatly said no. He basically said, we do not know how effective this vaccine is. And until we know more, you have to continue to social distance. You need to continue to wear a mask, and you will continue not to see your family.
Yeah, that's getting out of hand. I think it's just like, because
that's recipe for riot. That's
I'm seeing people
hoodwink the public.
What I'm most disturbed about is really, and you wouldn't see this unless you're getting around a lot to see like different people, different houses and stuff. So, people have these signs on their houses, usually by their front door or something that says, please wear a mask before entering this house and observe social distancing and all this stuff. I'm like, your house?
Oh.
Like they'll have the official, Minnesota Department of Health signs from, Mask Up Minnesota on their houses.
That's crazy.
I'm thinking
it's fucking branch COVIDiots, man.
COVIDiots. Because this is what I'm thinking is you have every bit of control over who comes in and out of your house, right?
Yes. At least I hope so in Minnesota.
Like I understand like businesses that involve people going to your house, whether it's like a cable guy, electrician, or whatever. And they're obviously upholding policies within their business to wear a mask because customers and stuff. That's one thing. But for you to have to enforce your own mask mandate in your own home, like, do you have no control over who comes in and out of your house? Like, do you? I mean, because most people who are reasonable are thinking, I'll take the risk because it's family or friends if they come over.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, like
it's become a virtue signal because, well, first of all, there's no science to support this thing. Over 30 studies have come out basically showing the mask thing is bullshit, right? Another 15 have come out. Social distancing does fuck all, right? In fact, in the UK right now, there are a number of lawsuits coming through the courts basically insisting that the government justify the continued lockdowns and all this other stuff by presenting the science, of which there is none. In fact, the lockdowns were so severe in the United Kingdoms, they dropped the COVID cases in Florida, for instance, right? Florida dropped their cases a lot faster than we did with severe lockdown. So this whole thing is blowing up in their face, and they know it. They're fucked. They absolutely know it. So they're just trying to hold off the inevitable lawsuits that are going to come from people who are doing this whole type of thing. So the science is bupkis. So what is the only reason that they're continuing to push this type of thing? And why people are willing to comply? First of all, there's one group of people who are absolutely pissed out of their mind, terrified of this virus. They swear it's the next Ebola. They've been watching the likes of CNN, MSNBC, BBC, and ITV in the UK, and they swear this is fucking leprosy, right? If you breathe the air outside, you're going to drop dead within minutes, right? Looking at grandma might kill her, right? Those are the absolute branch COVIDiots. They're believing the nonsense of that this is like absolute disaster. And those are the people that the government is talking to, right? These people are scared. They're terrified. They're the ones who are going to double up on the mask and stuff like that. They're worshiping at the altar of Fauci. There's no solving those people. In fact, there's a whole bunch of memes that have come out of these vaccinated people who are still wearing the mask and doing all the social distancing and signaling it on Instagram and other places just to show how good a person they are. So it has become a virtue signal, like everything else. Not based in reality, not based on any kind of science. And it seems like most governments are willing to go along with it for as long as possible, because once this is done, once the facade is done and we realize this thing, it's a little worse than the flu, I'll give you that, but it's the flu nonetheless, right? The deaths in the UK, the last time we had deaths like this, like the excessive deaths, was 2008. And I don't remember the lockdowns of 2008. Yeah. In fact, we had a similar situation in 2014. In fact, we had worse situation in 2018. We didn't lock down for that. So the government knows the gig is up. It's fucking bullshit, all of it. They're going to wait it out as long as possible so they could say at the end exactly what your governor said. We did the best we could with the information we had. If we could just save one life, it was worth it. And they think we're going to buy it.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Menthol cigarettes.
What's that?
Menthol cigarettes.
I don't. What is this? This is I don't know much about this. This is a ban that's coming in the U.S.
The FDA is going to do something, but he wants to ban menthol cigarettes.
Who's he?
Biden.
Oh, Biden wants to ban. Oh, I didn't even know this. I've been seeing some memes, but I didn't understand what it was.
I don't know too much about it either, but people are trying to turn it, are really trying to turn it on its head because it's bullshit.
Yeah.
And here's why it could be even really, really, really bad bullshit. There's only really one group that smokes a lot of menthol cigarettes.
It tends to be women, isn't it? I don't know what it is in the US, but the few that I know smoked.
It's the black.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, it's a weird kind of Puritan type of thing that's going on. What is this? Oh, I gotta look more into. Let's see what do we got here? Menthol.
Yeah, I don't know much about it, and I don't know if this is a health concern or not.
It's not. It's cigarettes. Like,
that's kind of what I would have thought. It's as bad as all the rest. I would figure. Why are you going after menthol? I don't know. I don't know. Everybody who smoked menthol that I knew was women. That they were the only ones that seemed to think it was like minty good. Although I think the mint fucks up men's testosterone or some bullshit like that. I can't remember. But hey, did you hear the news?
What?
The second richest man in the world is filing for divorce.
It's so weird. Is he the second, the third, the fourth? I don't even know.
They tend to jostle around for that top position every so often.
Yeah. But I heard that he gave her a vaccine and she's just totally forgot about it.
Hopefully her dick doesn't fall off. I mean,
the microchip changed her mind a bit. No, yeah, it's funny how you're going to create another richest woman in the world for divorce. Now, I will say though, it is pretty interesting how Jeff Bezos, after his divorce, after everything's said and done, pretty much recovered a lot of that lost wealth like really quickly.
Well, thanks to COVID, yeah, of course.
Yeah. But Bill and Melinda Gates are getting a divorce after 27 years of marriage.
27 years of marriage, yes. I think the kids are out of the house and everything else. So yeah. Time to trade up.
He's no looker and she's no looker, and they're just kind of there. They're a very plain looking couple. He's Bill Gates. No
prenup.
It's interesting. No prenup. Oh wow.
No prenup. Spicy.
And no talks of, what's the word? Infidelity or anything like that.
Well, not publicly. I don't suspect.
Yeah, because the whole Bezos thing got like blown wide open because of some stuff he was doing with that one other chick or something,
which was older than his wife, which was so bizarre.
Yeah.
And she kind of looked like her too.
And Bezos looks better than Gates. Have you seen some pictures of him? How he's
buffed up. He's on TRT. He's gotten jacked. Yeah, but I mean,
he's on the piss bottles.
Yeah, he's become quite the dictator as it goes. But he divorced his wife, and then he married. Well, he's with an older woman that looks like his wife. So that was very bizarre. I don't know what we're gonna see from Bill and Melinda.
But I don't know much about like the term except just Bill and Melinda Gates getting divorced. They're gonna continue working with each other in the Bill Gates Foundation.
In the foundation, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
Yeah, and there's no prenup, so that's a split down the middle. I was talking about this with some people about prenups and stuff too, and they were like, it's a weird thing. Like, some more people than you might expect are on board with it.
On board with prenups?
Yeah, like there's some people. I'm surprised sometimes I'll hear people that'll say, "Yeah, I talked to my girlfriend or whatever," and they're like, "Yeah, she's on board with it." And I'm like, I'm hearing that a little bit more often. I think because of the declining marriage and birth rates, there is a small subgroup of like women who are maybe just more open to it as a compromise to get married. Like, I'm not getting married anyways, or I wouldn't get whatever, there could be trends there. I don't want to speak too soon and maybe it's completely wrong, but it's interesting how like, there's been definitely more than I expected. I thought it was like a completely preposterous idea to most women or just couples in general to even consider. Some people are just completely baffled by it, while there's others that are like, oh yeah, it's reasonable. Because they understand the practicality of like, it's not like we want to break up. It's not like we want to get a divorce, but we'd rather have that all sorted out before we get emotional and get mad about it.
Correct.
Which makes the most sense. But yeah, what is he? 200 billion?
Somewhere.
Yeah. So
yeah, somewhere up there.
Yeah.
So there's going to be like a billionaires ex-wives club eventually,
Well, it kind of is.
Yeah, probably will be.
I think there was a study, something, it wasn't a study, but it was just a statistic. Out of the 60 richest women in the world, only 6 of them are self-made.
Yeah. Most
the
of
rest
them
are inherited. Yeah, inheritance, divorce settlements. I guess maybe lottery.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, that's always an option.
So yeah, that's going to be interesting to unfold. I mean, some people are getting worried, like, I kind of made this, had a bit of a funny thought, like maybe this is the left's big conspiracy plan to break up the billionaires. Because they're so anti-billionaire that the left is sort of, it's an op of sorts to like break up the rich people so that,
So they keep sending the thoughts in, the thoughts go in and like seduce the men and home wreckers.
Because we're the 99%, right? We got to break apart the 1%. So, get all start at the top, get these billionaires to break up.
I mean, you go from 1 billionaire to 2, I guess. All right, suppose.
Watch out, Elon Musk and Grimes.
Are they married?
They have a kid.
I know they have a kid. I don't know if they're married though. I might be. Somebody fact check me on that. I don't think he did.
You never know. They might try to sue or something. There's always something.
As if there's kids, it's all open to interpretation. Being married or not doesn't necessarily protect you.
Right. So, yeah, it's interesting. So, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know too much about how that's going to unfold, but it's definitely interesting to see, yet another top man in the world, one of the richest men in the world, taking the divorce.
You think he's going to trade up? You think he's going to get himself a sports model?
He's going to get himself a Microsoft, sex robot.
That's possible. I mean, I hope he does better. I hope he kind of upgrades, the bag, and doesn't do a Bezos where he gets an older woman that just looks like his wife. I'd like to see him with some like young hottie out there tearing it up, man. That would be a nice change. Maybe then he wouldn't try to like kill off half the population. He might actually think life is worth living.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you even heard what I said.
I got someone send me something about May the 4th, and I'm like, oh no. What do we got here? Oh yeah, someone said Melinda Gates looks like Kevin Kline in drag. Oh, boy.
Well, I guess we got to touch on Caitlyn Jenner. We did mention her early on, and her run for governor.
Yeah, so she wants to run for governor after. Because there needs to be a recall election of Newsom to see if he gets recalled, and then they elect a new governor. So Caitlyn Jenner, being a trans woman who is a Republican running in California. Which is just all sorts of, one thing over another, like really throwing you curveballs there. She's made some statements about trans people in sports.
Yes.
Which is interesting.
No, it's ironically in the trans communities, it is a very common position Except for
no, I agree on that, but I mean to the general narrative of trans people in sports and stuff.
Oh yes,
it turns it on its head.
It goes against the progressive narrative of blank slate theology, where there's absolutely no difference between men and women, and here comes a trans woman basically saying no, there fucking is, and we need to pass laws to ban biological men from competing in women's sports.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if the left, well, of course, this is when, Joy Behar, was her name Behar or Behar, whatever.
Yeah.
That's right. She went after Caitlyn Jenner because of those types of statements, thinking it's giving her some kind of virtue points and other things. I don't know what California is going to do with that. I'm interested to see what happens with that. In the last type of by-election, something like this happened. We got Arnold Schwarzenegger as the governor. So there can be an upset. A Republican can sneak through if it is the right kind of Republican. So Schwarzenegger was like Republican light sort of thing,
Yeah, imagine going from the governor.
The governor.
You ever heard that?
Yeah, no, I have heard it. Yeah, of course.
To Caitlyn Jenner.
I don't know what that would be. Is that a misdemeanor? I don't know.
Misdemeanor?
Who knows? But that would be cool.
It's such an interesting. I mean, California gets all the interesting governors.
Well, the politics are unlike anywhere else in the world. So,
speaking unlike other places in the world, Dogecoin 60 cents.
Yeah, cool. Did you hold on to yours?
I don't have any.
I bought it at 2 cents.
Huh.
Yeah, but I sold it
at 4 cents.
Yeah. I think I pretty much doubled it and stuff like that. When it crossed 10 cents and stuff, that's when it was 10 pence, so it was actually converted into pounds. Because I would have tax implications if it goes much higher. So it really was a struggle because I felt like it was going somewhere. But no, it paid for a couple of things, cleared off some debts. I was satisfied with that. But yeah, it's a joke coin, right? This is the irrationality.
I don't get it because, like, on one hand, there are people. There's Dogecoin millionaires right now.
Sure,
but like, there's a split within the cryptocurrency community. Mm-hmm. Where there are those who are like, fucking just to the moon, baby, and other ones that are like, nah, dude, sticking with my Ethereum and Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Like there's like almost a class divide within the cryptocurrency.
Yeah. I mean, the problem is what Dogecoin and a lot of these other ones, even though they're doing very well, it exposes the basic floor of all cryptocurrencies, which means there really isn't anything backing it, right? So they would say, well, Bitcoin is transactional. You could buy things with it. You could do all of these different types of things. You can't buy anything with Doge. Doge isn't even like a real thing, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you could buy and sell Doge, but you can't buy anything with Doge, right? So it doesn't even have. Oh, where's accepting Dogecoin?
The Oakland A's and a Major League Baseball team is accepting Dogecoin for tickets.
Okay, great. So they got one place.
but you can't. No. But this is the thing. Like, it's definitely the beginning of adoption. Like, this is the thing is, as official institutions start adopting, taking the currency, little by little, it's like someone's got to go first.
Right.
And with baseball ticket sales as low as they are right now, fuck, they'll take anybody, Dogecoin, yeah, we'll take it.
And it's a fucking joke coin. It's not. Yeah. It was never even meant to be a real thing, and that is where it's come to.
Yeah, because basically Bitcoin is like the dollar of cryptocurrency now.
That's how it's seen.
Ethereum and Litecoin, some of these others are kind of like sub coins to it, and then Dogecoin is like this weirdo in a corner that's like just coming out of nowhere. Like
Yeah, completely agree. I'm looking at, and the guy admits it. Is like, look, he's basically copied the Bitcoin protocol. He bumped it up to whatever it is, so it's a lot more than Bitcoin overall. And he ran it as a joke for a couple of years, and he abandoned the Twitter account. Like a couple years ago, he's just like, okay, the joke's done. He didn't even bother with it. And then, of course, Elon Musk says something about Doge. It bounces up to like a penny or whatever it was at the time. And then it went up to 2 pennies. And the guy comes back on the account like, what the fuck? Like, he didn't even know. This was going on. Yeah. And as you said, there are people right now who put their life savings and stuff like that into Dogecoin. And hey, more power to him, man. I'm skeptical of the crypto world because there isn't anything to support it. But at the same time, I see the need for it more and more simply because the actual economy is becoming more and more tyrannical.
So you got to think of it this way. So I was on Masculine Geek the other day with a few guys. And we were talking about crypto for a bit. Yeah. And I brought up. So I kind of started it off because everyone was kind of talking about a lot of stuff, and I'm sitting here like I've been in crypto in a while. So I just pull up my Coinbase account and I scroll back to 2013. And I just pull up at one transaction.
Yeah. And I buy of Bitcoin.
I click screen share and I say, hey guys, I know I don't have much to contribute, but just look at this. It was like April of 2013. Purchase 15 Bitcoin.
Yeah.
At $63 a Bitcoin or something. And I just left that there. I'm like, there. Just
leave that. Let it be what it is.
There. And then they're like, oh no. Oh no. How do you feel? They're like, and then Vince and something like, do we need to check on you weekly now? Like, are you on suicide watch right now? Like, we need to you want us to call you? And I'm like, no, it's just there it is. Just don't be me.
Hey, V, man. We got V. Vernon is in the. I'm doing a live stream with him this Saturday. Thanks for joining us, bro.
And then they were like, all right, like, well, what'd you do with it? I said, the next day I sold it and doubled my money.
Yeah.
Because this was like the early days of volatile Bitcoin.
Yeah, of course.
I first saw Bitcoin in Coinbase for like $42 a Bitcoin.
Right.
Like, this was back in the day when like you had to enter in all your banking info, manually, and like transactions would take a week.
Yeah.
They had to clear everything, and like it was like a deposit took a week, a withdrawal took a week and a half. It was just stuff like this, and I'm just like, oh, just clicking around. Everything had to take a day to settle. Yeah. And I'm looking at Dogecoin. I'm like, it better not be the same thing.
This is the problem, because you and I discussed it when the only thing that's going for the coins are technical analysis, which is chart patterns. You look at the buying pressure and stuff like that. So I was giving you advice. It's like, okay, well, it's peaking here. This pattern is going to do this. At the end of the day, Bitcoin being worth, what is it, $60,000 a coin?
Yeah.
Why? Like, there's absolutely no fundamental reason why it is worth that, except that somebody else is willing to pay that price. So
I brought it up to these guys, and we talked about one thing, which was because I mentioned how when you and I talked about it way back then, we talked about how it hit 1,000.
Yeah.
And you were saying like, and I told him, I said, you talked about how like that's kind of a turning point because that's the
actual price of gold, of something tangible.
But someone else in the panel when we were on Masculine Geek mentioned, well, he says, I think your friend's partly right. I think he says the bigger thing is market cap. Market cap is another part of that equation. Because what is the market? Do you know what the market cap of Bitcoin is right now?
It's a couple of trillion.
It's over $1 trillion.
But that has nothing to do with anything. The size of a company doesn't determine its valuation.
Well, the thing is so people are trying to still, their economists trying to kind of put down Bitcoin, but it's like Bitcoin is bigger than countries at this point.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. It has no value.
And there's big companies, reputable companies that are buying it up.
Sure, but it still has no value. We've seen this before, right? In the 1600s, there was the tulip rush.
But the tulip rush was just kind of a one-off thing, and it was gone.
No, it took years. But yeah, no, I agree. It never happened again. But yeah, a tulip was worth more than a house and an estate. So maybe not a country.
There's work involved with producing Bitcoin, though.
But it's an algorithm. There's no work involved in it. And even if there is work, what do you get? Okay, you get a coin. You get a piece of software. There's work involved in playing a game of Minecraft. What do you get? Like that's not an argument.
I mean, you and I are mining Picoin.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm totally like, look, everybody should get into it simply for the fact that
it's
the mainstream economy is tyrannical. Yeah, no. So I'm getting into it because I know there is no absolute value for this, which is why I would mine it. True. Because mining Picoin, for instance, doesn't cost us anything. And I don't know, like 100 pi or whatever it is. Maybe in a couple of years it might be worth something great, but it doesn't cost me anything, right? If I had a Bitcoin operation and I was like running the mining software and all that, it's costing me energy and all that kind of different type of things. At the end of the day, I'm looking for the least road of resistance. So I use things like Brave, the browser. It pays me in Bitcoin. Mines, it pays me not in Bitcoin, BAT. They have their own currency. Mines has their own token. Odyssey has their own token. So I'm not going to mine it, and I probably could trade it, but I'm finding little ways to accumulate crypto by using all of these other platforms. For the only reason is the mainstream economy is becoming more and more tyrannical, and there may come a time where I would not be able to buy anything without my vaccine passport. There's something they've discussed out here, and I'm not getting vaccinated, or whatever else. I might need to use these other things.
Definitely a big one there.
And just for the record, I recently got some medication, and my browser paid for it. My Brave browser that I used gave me enough money to buy this medication.
Yeah, you've heard about the big shortage of graphic processors, right?
Yeah. It's from NVIDIA and whatever. Yeah, the other ATI and these people.
So because what's going on right now is you have the Ethereum gold rush of sorts. Ethereum is kind of the big one that everyone's mining because there's so much you can get. Like if I do the math, if I have like 3 NVIDIA GTX like 3080 or 3090, I can have them paid off in like 5-6 months.
Yeah.
And
Ethereum just reached an all-time high, over $3,000.
Yeah, but the pace at which the amount of Ethereum being released is still very much kind of at a certain level. Like you can still get into it, and I just see people that are like they caught on early. They bought a few graphic processors. They put them on a frame. They just it sits there. It's no bigger than like a little like an actual TV.
Yeah. I've seen them. One of the biggest mining operations is actually in Trinidad and Tobago, because we have very cheap energy out there, and I've toured the facility.
Oh,
yeah,
but yeah, they're just putting it there, like just regular guys, just put it there.
Yeah, just leave it running.
Leave it running, and then they can, they're making anywhere. Well, now it's probably like a profit of $1,000 a month for 3 processors.
Yeah,
and they could just
after they pay their electricity and all the other stuff.
Yeah. That's a profit, though. That's what I'm.
That's all of that. Before people think that's all it is. No, there is a cost to mining.
Yeah. It's $1,000 of profit at that point.
Yeah.
But they'll just stack it, and then there's $3,000 of profit, and just. Yeah. Now it's not like a get rich quick and all this stuff, because GPUs are at a massive shortage, so you're not just gonna
on a premium. Correct.
But it's this weird little gold rush of, and I understand what you were saying. Like there was someone that tried to figure this out. They're like, what is it? And I'm like, you have a machine that solves a problem and it releases a coin, and you can sell that coin that people then use to trade with. Like you're essentially a mint operation. You're minting the thing. if you wanted to make it more equivalent of an idea. And I said, yeah, but so your computer's doing this. Yeah. Where's the value coming from? People wanting to buy and sell with it.
Correct. Now there's a difference.
What is it?
There's the difference is that's price. Price and value are two different things. There's the price you pay for something, and then there is the value of the thing itself. There is no value. There is price. So that's what a lot of people don't understand.
This is like subjective theory of value on steroids, basically.
Yeah. And I get it. It's basically a fiat currency, right? It's a currency that they've created out of nothing. Just like our dollar and other things like that. It's just that there's a lot more faith in things like the dollar, at least for now and stuff. So it's basically the equivalent, right? There really isn't a lot to support value.
The faith in it comes from the blockchain, which is not influenced by governments, is why they like it.
Well, it is influenced by governments because they could actually track the people and they can see the whole chain, right? There's no
it's
privacy
not,
on it.
Like blockchain technology of confirming ledgers, like how it communicates the ledger out to the network. It's not like there's not someone at the beginning kind of cranking a dial to, print more or print less, whatever currency you're talking about. There's no bonds that are controlling for it. It's purely market forces and people trading it and mining it. It's not like there's a direct government influence. Now, there's government influences in where it can be traded. I think Turkey banned the use of certain cryptocurrencies.
That was the point I was going to make, is that, yes, they can manipulate it. They can change it. And of course, it's not anonymous because they can read the ledger. So in some ways, it's actually less secure than money, right? If you're doing a drug deal, you use cash, right? You don't use Bitcoin because that's how they track down where you're at.
Oh,
so So I get it. It's just another fiat currency. That's kind of my approach to it. It has no tangible value. It's not gold. But as the mainstream economy becomes more tyrannical, I think everybody needs to at least dabble in this. In the event that there's an emergency, I want to have enough crypto that I could buy a plane ticket to some far off land.
Like, you know what Ross Ulbricht's Bitcoin wallet is worth, right?
No. How much is that worth?
It's like 62 billion.
Okay.
But you know what that is, right? Ross Ulbricht.
Isn't he's the co-founder of Ethereum, isn't he?
Silk Road.
Oh, right. Okay. Fair enough. Right.
Founder of Silk Road. He was, was it like 2011, 2012 through 2013-ish. Like when he founded Silk Road and the money that he gained, like it's estimated that his Bitcoin wallet right now, wherever it is, if it is anywhere, is worth $62 billion.
Okay.
Insane. Just from trading, like you were talking,
getting transactions. The people are paying him for something.
Yeah, I heard it was like, I remember the numbers they said. It was like, they would trade, Bitcoin all over the place, and he would trade and he would get like a small fraction of it.
Yeah.
I
mean, that's the way to do it. If you could do arbitrage, or you can buy it in one market and resell it in another without having to wait for the price to move, that's the way you'll make money on it. There are thousands of instruments that don't have any tangible value, right? Derivatives and futures and all sorts of things. Doesn't mean you can't make money from it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my attitude towards crypto. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Well, on that positive note.
Anybody wants to join our Pi mining crew? Yeah, we'll put a link in the description.
In there. Someone told me they think it's like a data mining project.
It's something like that. I've read the white paper. It's basically the same fucking thing.
You think that's a little sketchy that way, or you're cool with it?
It doesn't matter because it's not costing me anything to mine it, right? So anybody want to jump on the team?
Would you say it's costing your data though? Because
no, because it's all done in the cloud, right? So you hit the app, you hit the mine button, and it all takes place remotely.
Okay.
And you just get an update like, okay, your mining cycle is complete. Do you want to restart it? So I'll put the link.
31 Pi right now, so we'll see how that goes. Anyways.
I'll put mine and you'll put yours, and you could join either team because I think you and I are on the same mining team.
Yeah, it's just you and I, isn't it?
I got 5 people on it, man. Oh
damn. Yeah, I'll have to
add the game.
So, of course, as always, when you're mining Bitcoin or whatever cryptocurrency you're mining, you want to keep your balls clean.
Keep your balls clean, guys. Wash your balls. Very important.
Check out tacticalsoap.com to get 10% off using the coupon code 10K Rum. And, of course, check out our Subscribestar at subscribestar.com/shitword-preachers, where you can check out all the perks for as little as $1 a month or $5 a month to get a hold of our raw takes. We do have a Discord server if you join for $1 a month, which is pretty basic. Get in there, chat with us. It's just Brook and myself.
I think most people have us on social media. They talk to us directly anyway.
Which is good. Yeah.
Yes, we do love our fans. When are we coming up on our anniversary? When we have to make some decisions about the show?
July.
Yeah, guys. You want to let people know what's happening in July? So maybe they might get on, and like help us reach some thresholds.
Well, it's like a soft deadline of sorts. We've decided, and we'll be mentioning this more as time goes on. We've decided to a level. We'll obviously talk about it more as we get closer. We've been doing this since 2017, July something of 2017. So if we get to that same point, like we can look it up on our YouTube, but if we get to that same point or now, being 4 years, and we've only really seen 230 subscribers. Now we've got some podcast downloads on, which we're on all the major podcasting platforms. Check us out there. We've got some people on Subscribestar, but it's just, with the way things have gone, like for all that we've kind of put into it, time, energy, resources, money that we've put in, it's just, it gets to that point where you're like, it's not that we don't like it. It's just, is it really worth, is this purely passion, or should we be, have something that is returning on it? Now, it's not like we're expecting to get rich or anything off of this,
which would be nice, but
it's nice. It's definitely not going to deny that, but to get the subscriber, we would like to get it to we wanted to at least get to 1,000 or see some growth to kind of give us that incentive to continue.
Yes.
Now, it's not saying we're just going to end it. Okay, we're done by in July. But we would lean towards that and have that conversation, decide, are we going to do it as often? Are we going to do it as long? Are we going to try to completely change it? Or are we going to go is Brook going to focus more on his channel and maybe I do something on my own? Whatever that may be, to completely reinvent ourselves together or separate, whatever. Basically, that's a point where we're if nothing majorly changes by then, there's a tough conversation to have for the two of us, for the viewers, for everyone involved to kind of now, yeah, there's a lot of things changing in our own lives. I'd say so for example, I'll mention this. As of Sunday, so on Sunday, the 8th, I will be attending the Libertarian Party of Minnesota State Convention. So they have a convention, and I'm 90% sure, but I'm not trying to claim anything that. So I announced that I was going to run as a member of the committee. So every party has a committee that decides, policy, stuff like that, a lot of things, basically the decision-making body. And I put my name in the hat to be considered for running. We attend the convention early in the day. The first thing they do is voting on this, and then we decide on things like planks, which are policy positions and stuff. But I put my name in, so that'll definitely be taking up time. I've decided to take a more active role, at least in the local, the party here. And how that, depending upon how that goes, and if that's going in a different direction, that could take time away from this too. Unless this really shows itself, this project of the podcast really pulls us to keep doing it. Not that I would take away from me doing anything else, but it's just,
it's got to show some value. We got to get some return on the investment time.
Yeah, there's in so many words.
Yeah,
it has some value. You know,
yes. As we were on that topic,
even if we hit like 500 subscribers, I think that's a sign of life to kind of go. All right, maybe we go a little more, you know. But if it's just kind of stagnated around the 235 to 240, it's just kind of
are we? What are we at? 285,
238,
238. Oh, thanks. I had it reversed there. My dyslexia is
yeah. So yeah, and it's nothing on anyone else. It's not on you guys. Well, it is actually.
No, the audience is always right.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's only fair we give them a heads up. You know, this is something we discussed early on, and I know we are coming up on that time frame in about another 2 months. So, guys, you know, we really would appreciate it if you promote the podcast, send it out to people, even if they don't listen. Get them to add it to the list, so at least we get the downloads going on. Because it is getting to the point we've almost done this for 4 years. We put a lot of energy in, we put a lot of time in, and it hasn't been as fruitful as we would have liked.
Basically, if every one of our subscribers, whether casually watching or subscribing on the channel or anywhere else, if you're listening to us on the podcasting platform, if everyone downloaded once, or if everyone had like 1 or 2 people just to click subscribe, because I know people have a shit ton of people they subscribe to but never watch.
Of course,
just to click on it, it kind of changes things, because it changes watch hours, it changes it gets people more engaged, and it's just like, yeah. So we'll be talking about it more as we go on.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so we do of course thank everyone for joining us again. Now we'll be announcing a possible change in the schedule again.
Unavoidable. Yeah.
I had another change of schedule at work. So I'm going to change that up. And since Brook has an open schedule, pretty much.
It's not open, but it's flexible. Yeah.
I shouldn't say open.
Yeah, it's flexible. Yes.
It's very flexible. We'll be changing. So we'll be announcing that, and then people will see that on YouTube. So anyways, we will, of course, be on next week, and we will see everyone then.
Thanks for watching, guys.